Lies, all lies. Thank you guys for spending a little bit of time with me, and thanks Mediapost for allowing me to attend this event. I think it's I'm not going to admit how many times I've been here because it's kind of embarrassing, but I really love it and it's really great. So just want to spend a little bit of time talking about really the changes that we've seen in the search ecosystem in the last couple of years. The panel a little bit earlier on about the change and the death of the keyword, if you will. I think it's kind of, I don't want to say it's already here, but it's moving and it's moving fast. But I think before we get into the future, I wanted to just take a little bit of time talking about the past. And this is an interesting clip that Google put out, and the best I could find was actually from Google UK, but I think it still has some good bearing and gives some interesting historical visibility. So if we want to roll that. So 2001 AdWords, 2005 GA, dynamic search ads 2011, something with British pounds, I don't know what that is, website call conversions in 2014, and then AdWords offers, all sorts of interesting stuff, and then finally customer match. People will buy shoes with smartphones, pretty great. And there you go, GA 360 launching in 2016. Advances in machine learning, which we've obviously spoken a little bit about today. And then it really gets us to where we are now in 2017 with Google attribution and where we're moving with voice and some of the newer technology that I think probably all of us engage with on a day in, day out basis. So it's really interesting to see what's happened, and I think where we see it manifest itself in recent years is really around the increase, the growth in search. So if we look at Q1 19 year on year, we actually saw a 36% increase in impressions, a 25% increase in clicks, and an 11% increase in spending on search. So clearly it's not going anywhere. It's obviously changed in a few different ways, but it's continuing to grow. It's growing really quickly. And I think one of the big challenges that we see with this growth is it can really be rewarding, but if you don't know what you're doing, it can really be tragic, and you can spend a lot of money inefficiently. And I think it's getting really challenging in the last year or two, where we've seen position zero results become even more dominant within the SERP itself. And so this is recent data from JumpShot. And so they're saying that more than half of Google searches conducted from a mobile browser and about 35% from Google desktop searches ended without a click to other content. And so, I mean, obviously you can read into this a couple different ways, but what we're starting to see more and more is Google's actually rendering the result of the query right there in the knowledge graph as an individual box that answers the question. Or if you're actually searching for something that has more of a commerce basis, Google's getting really into the space. You can obviously now book airfare, you can book hotels, you can find a plumber. You can do all this stuff directly within Google without ever leaving the site. And while there are some advertiser opportunities that exist, more and more of this traffic is going directly to Google, and they're monetizing it directly, which makes it more and more challenging for us to get in front of the customer. And so at the end of the day, there's not a single simple solution here. It's really around ongoing optimization and evolution that are going to allow us to kind of keep up with the pace of Google and the pace of the industry as a whole. And so luckily, a lot of the vendors that enable this are here today. But as we think about it at HP and within our team, it's really around mastering the basics, bid evolution, a well-informed audience strategy, testing different formats, and execution. And if you do well at all of those, we've found a lot of success. And so let's just talk through a couple different pieces. So this should be common knowledge to a lot of us, but there's so many different things that really kind of fall into the basics, from your ad copy execution, the actual audience strategy that you're leveraging. What does your automation playbook look like? How are your landing pages designed? If you look at your mobile optimizations, your ad extensions, there's so many different things. And so this is just a basic checklist that our team goes through every time we launch a new campaign around a new product or we're refreshing things. And if you look at this holiday example, so this is from Cyber Week this year, there's 8 different optimizations that are happening in this single ad alone. And so at the top, you see the URL with the extended ad path. You see we're leveraging the full headline. We've got an ad customizer here where it says end in 2 days. It's responsive search ad, so we're able to change the percentage discount on a daily basis. We've got automated extensions here around average delivery time. seller ratings, which is a whole presentation in itself. How do you get and maintain high seller ratings? Because whether you're selling on Amazon or Google or Walmart, if you've got low ratings, you're not going to get the ranking, and you're certainly not going to get the conversion. We've got the promo extension down here, holiday PC, and then we've got price extensions down here. So, when you think back to the campaigns that you're running, if you're, in e-commerce, the campaigns you're running over the holiday period, do you have 8 different optimizations that are taking place within your ad unit? And scarily, there's actually more than 8 that we could have deployed, but we felt this was the optimal mix. And so if you don't do it, if you just, you mess up this basic or that basic, bad things can happen. So the first example in the upper left is of Postmates, and a very simple example here of, they weren't buying their own name, and so they're getting conquested by Uber Eats. Sorry to Jeff, my friend over at Geico, but a good example here of Geico getting conquested here by countryfinancial.com. Now, chances are, if you are searching for Geico, you're going to get to the Geico link one way or another. But people who are in market might not necessarily know, and they might be going through quickly, and so they'll click on that first link. This one is really great. The upper right here, you put your brand at risk of humor. I thought this was a little bit edgy, and so this was something that Samsung did. People searching for the iPhone 6s. Awkward, you obviously mean S6, Samsung.com. Again, chances are if you're searching for an iPhone, you're probably not going to switch to a Samsung, but they're getting in there. They're getting in the funnel. They're getting to earlier on. And this last one I thought was comical and maybe partially, search isn't the only reason that Toys R Us demised, but not having a good search strategy certainly could have helped them out. And so Baby Driver, which is by all means an R-rated movie with everybody's friend Kevin Spacey here and guys with automatic weapons, probably not the kind of search query that Toys R Us wants to be showing up for. So if you skip the basics, bad things can happen. One of the things that's really important to us, we're really fortunate to have a great in-house team and a great external team at Performix that really kind of takes bid optimization to a new level. And so you'll see this is kind of a build-out of the last few months. And so if you look back at January of last year, we were testing technology called 24/7, effectively AI bidding, and it worked. It worked really well. It was our first foray into high-frequency bidding, but we're never really happy with status quo. And so in February, we were happy with the results in 24/7, but Google was pushing us to try SA360, and so we put them up head-to-head. And so we ended up actually seeing better CPC with similar revenue levels using the SA360 model. And so we walked away from 24/7, and then as we moved into March, we started leveraging adaptive location targeting. We found that within certain regions, based on the average order size or under or over penetration of different types of media, there were some pockets where we could do more and we could drive higher ROI from our search strategies. And so we started to deploy adaptive location targeting, and we saw improved ROAS as a result of that. And then in April, we moved fully over to DDA. And so we really started to see an improvement in revenue here with lower average CPCs. And this worked particularly for us in non-brand SEM. Not everything is going to work for every bid type. We get a lot of our revenue and a lot of our traffic from branded search, but obviously how much of that is net incremental, how much of that would have just come from SEO anyway. And so DDA helped us really jump into the non-brand space effectively. And then as we got into August, we really started ramping up on seasonality adjustments. With back to school and other things happening, it just enabled faster, more proactive reaction to conversion rates and kind of capitalizing on areas of the best opportunity. And then as we worked our way into October, we fully deployed auction time bidding. And so this is probably the most robust bidding mechanism that exists today that's offered directly through Google. And it's really tough to make all of this out, but Google's using everything from device type to time of day to conversion path to locations to similar audiences to day of the week. And it's real-time bidding at the user level. And so they're able to leverage cookie data, query data, et cetera. And this, in particular, it worked well in search, but it really worked well for us on product listing ads. And so going back to what I said about DDA, you've got to figure out what the right mechanism is, depending upon what type of marketing you're doing within Google, for example, here. But just kind of highlights, the evolution of our search strategy. And obviously, this is a brief snapshot. It's just really important that you evolve with the tech, or you get left behind and you suffer high CPCs. And so this goes into really the audience itself. I think the audience-based strategy has a lot to do with the death of the keyword. The other thing that we're seeing with an audience-based strategy is we're able to get much higher in the funnel than historically we were able to because of cost constraints. And so if you take a look, you're able to leverage interest-based audiences, so affinity audiences that are available, in-market audiences available, so third-party data. And then you can use effectively discovery ads. So you don't even necessarily need a keyword here. These discovery ads serve themselves in a variety of different Google apps and interactions. And then as we work our way a little bit lower down, we use similar lists. And we'll start to leverage lists that are similar to all converters, lists that are similar to all visitors. And that's when we'll start to do a little bit more generic ads. And then as we get all the way down to the kind of the bottom of the funnel, if you will, we get pretty heavy in remarketing. And so we're using our first-party data, so site visitors, CRM lists, cart abandoners. And at that point, we'll go ahead and we'll start to use a variety of different dynamic ad copy formats through Google. But the audience component is really vital now as it pertains to targeting and effective execution. And so it's really important when you go and you look at the audiences that you have stored. If you look at, for example, these are some of our actual remarket audiences. The one on the upper left is similar to all product page visitors for the last 90 days. And so, we're seeing effectively a CPC that's, $1.26 and a click-through rate that's 14% for that. As we get down to in-market ads, we're looking at customers who effectively looked at notebooks or components, and we're seeing CPCs in the $1.60 range. And then you look at technology and mobile enthusiasts when you get into affinity audiences and down in the $1.50 range. The technology segment happens to be very pricey with CPCs, and so obviously I think for a lot of us these seem low, but these are very low for our specific industry. But I think if you look at each of the different types of audience targeting, they each kind of bring about their own unique benefit, right? On the remarketing side, we've been able to see some double-digit CTRs, and we've seen great conversion. The in-market audiences enable us to drive down CPCs on those non-brand terms that are generally pretty expensive for us to compete in if we didn't have this. And then as you look at affinity audiences, it enables us to move search kind of higher in the funnel. And I think that's kind of one of the big paradigm shifts that we've seen. Search for us historically has been like a mid to lower funnel component, but I think some of the newer technologies and audiences have enabled a lot more upper funnel visibility. The other area where we spend a ton of time, and we're getting to a point where machine learning and AI do a lot of this work, but we still actually have to create the images to start with. And so, this is actual data these are just 4 different images that we rotated into this discovery ad. And so I think if you look at it, you see this first ad, just the laptop with the backdrop, decent on CTR, but our top converter and our highest ROAS. And then this lifestyle image, you see it's actually our lowest CTR holistically, and among our lower conversion and our lower ROAS. And then you see this lifestyle with a woman out at the cafe with her laptop. Great CTR, moderate conversion, moderate ROAS. So it's really important that you test out each one of these things and not necessarily go with your gut feel. And even if you were to do like lifestyle image, which of the 3 lifestyle images is the right lifestyle image? So a lot of testing goes into every element. And kind of predicated on that, the results-driven testing approach, this is just kind of unique to our RSA testing process. But what it really enables is our ability to test ad copy, performance, identity trends, and it allows us to optimize on a monthly basis. So if we're seeing really strong RSA performance, we move the combinations into extended text ads, and if we're seeing weak RSA performance, we refresh the ad copy, we keep working it, and then as a last resort, we will ultimately pause the performance, or pause the campaign. But really the testing process focuses a lot on using the data, obviously within Google. The combinations report in Google Ads is huge benefit. The ad strength tool within the Google Ads Dash is incredible as well. So all the data is out there. It's really taking the time and coming up with a good testing framework that enables you to leverage it and drive down your own CPCs and drive up conversion and other metrics. And so I think I mentioned before this shift that we've started to see, I'd say in the last year and a half, the push around audience leveraging, the push around informed visualizations, and obviously Google figuring out new ways to monetize their inventory. It's really interesting. So these are all kind of ads that we've started to roll out in the last year. And so you see, in the upper left, discovery ads showing up in Gmail, in-app discovery ads down here on the lower left. Got discovery ads in YouTube on the upper right and on the lower right. So really this concept of like search being, well, it's only pull, it's only when people are searching for something, it's not only pull. Search is quickly kind of moving its way into the display ecosystem, if anything. And I think if you're dealing with somebody who's upper funnel, somebody who's early in their actual purchase journey, being able to get a really strong visual and potentially with discount messaging or whatever else you need in front of them is hugely advantageous. But obviously you can't just focus on push. We spent a lot of time still on pull. And so things like gallery ads down here at the bottom, which we saw the example of before, showcase shopping ads, which we're seeing a lot more of here on notebooks. And we're just actually starting to see even more of that on desktop showing up. And then RSA text ads over here on the far right. And so a lot of us, and I think nature of the beast, a lot of us have been kind of historically focused on pull. We're starting to move more and more of our emphasis, more and more of our focus over to the push side. The pull side has been relatively well optimized, and so we're able to take some of the savings of that optimization and move upper funnel with the search budget and work really hand in hand with the display team to make sure that we're driving to the right areas. We're not overlapping too much. We've got good frequency caps in place to ensure we're not overexposing the customer. But it is really interesting, this combination between push and pull that we've seen kind of transpire over the last 12 to 18 months. So I think the other piece, and this kind of the overall theme of this, just around continuously evolving your media footprint. So these are some of the things that we've been doing in the last couple months that kind of push us beyond just search, if you will, particularly just Google search. And so one of the things that we started on, I know it's tough to make out, but this is Google Shopping Actions. So Google released this program a little bit over a year ago. And what they did is this is really extending Google into the marketplace ecosystem where Walmart plays, where Amazon play. So these types of ad units effectively are a rev share-based ad unit. You're seeing them showing up specifically within the Google Shopping area. And so what happens is, for us, and this is a publicly available rate table, and you can see by your own industry, for us on PCs, for example, it's a 6% rev share, and this is exactly how Amazon would work on a rev share model in some of their ecosystems. So it's a really nice unit. It blends in overall well with the PLAs. I mean, PLAs are great. I would obviously rather pay on a conversion than on a click, and so it's nice that it plays in that ecosystem where customers are familiar with interacting. The order actually does take place within Google, so it goes back to what I mentioned earlier on with Google becoming its own ecosystem from end to end. So it takes place on Google, and then in the evening, Google effectively does an ACH clear, so they transition the money to us with their cut taken off of the top, and then we get the end customer's email address, shipping details, et cetera. And that enables ongoing CRM, so on and so forth. So they're a joint customer between Google and HP, which allows us, obviously a lot of the marketing spend we put in market is based on LTV. And so as you look at marketplaces, and for example, shopping actions, you are still able to benefit from that LTV from your email program, so on and so forth, once you bring this customer in. But this has been a really big boon for us. I can't talk about the numbers, but the numbers are significant for a product that didn't exist a year ago. And we're actually, the other benefit is we're able to pull PLA spend out because we're getting the revenue from this, and we're able to redeploy the PLA spend to other areas. So the other thing that I want to call out is, we've had a lot of success expanding into secondary networks. So Chris and his team are here from Ad Marketplace, Todd from Ad.net, Leo and his team here from Perform, Andrew from Outbrain, Jeeves from Jeeves. Okay, but no, we've had some success expanding into secondary networks. There's no need to oversaturate. There's no need to put all your money with Google. Yeah, is Google big? Yes. Is Yahoo still there? Yeah. Is Bing there? Yeah. But you don't need to put 100% of your budget with those guys. We've actually seen a lot of success with some of these other players, and our ROAS higher than what we're able to achieve on Google, kind of going after the same keywords and after the same audiences. So for us, we've seen some nice incremental revenue. The ROAS, as I allude to, on target with the primary engines, and average CPCs that are actually well under $1 in many instances. And as Perform highlighted, like really good inventory. You know, this is not like bargain basement, little text ads at the bottom of secondary sites. Like this is good inventory, and it works. One of the other things that we've started to do lately is blending in with other marketing channels. So obviously Facebook, you know, has for a long time been kind of a display-driven ecosystem, but they started to launch search ads recently, which is interesting, and they represent another step forward. And you know, I think they will over time take some market share away. So effectively, once you opt in as an advertiser, the ads are eligible to appear within search results pages, and so that's general search as well as marketplace search. You can leverage the same type of audience targeting that you would with the traditional Facebook ad formats. So obviously, in-market audiences, demographic targeting, all the other great targeting that Facebook brings. And it's contextually relevant to a limited set of, it is English and Spanish terms that they're kind of going after. But we launched this holiday season, actually, as you can see. And you know, we were modestly impressed with the success out of the gate. I think there's still a lot of opportunity here, a lot of optimization that Facebook's going to have to do over time, but it really gets to the point that there are other marketing channels outside of Google that we should be looking at and we should be participatory in as brands. And look, you know, when you have the right pairing, you know, the holidays can pay off immensely. We saw a lot of great growth. I just use Minions because I can't use real numbers, but you know, between Thanksgiving and Friday and Cyber Monday, a lot of the tactics that you saw kind of summarized here in the deck, we were able to execute against successfully. And I think, hold on a second, that's, I guess that's it. Did we, I thought I had something else in here, but maybe I didn't. How am I doing on time? Anybody paying attention to that?
You're good.
Good. Well, we can open it up to any questions then, I guess, because I'm thinking maybe a slide or two fell out, but you guys get the point either way.
Great.
Hey,
You have a question in the back?
Yeah, hey, Morgan, thanks. Jeff from Ad Marketplace, thank you for the shout out. As HP is both a manufacturer and a seller, how do you balance and either partner with or compete against the other retailers, whether it's Amazon or Best Buy or Staples or the other litany of retailers that sell your products?
I mean, we tend to stay generally within our own swim lane with a lot of them. You know, it kind of varies by ecosystem. So, for example, in Amazon, Amazon will only allow you to be a first-party or a third-party marketplace. And so in certain situations, it works itself out just by the nature of the ecosystem. When we look at some of our relationships with other partners, HP does provide co-marketing dollars. And so in exchange for purchasing an HP product and selling it on your website, we're going to give you money. And so if it's a brick and mortar, we're buying end caps. If you're selling via .com, you know, you're a Newegg, whatever the case may be, you know, we're giving you money there. We tend to not overlap with them in search with our own co-marketing dollars. It just tends to not be good for either one of us. You know, so there's, it's tough for me to get into too much detail on how that works out, honestly. But we tend to have a really good communication stream with our channel partners generally. The other thing is because we're the brand, we have MAP compliant pricing. And so we always have to sell generally at retail, or if we're on a discount or on the same discount, it'll be a national promotion. And so sometimes our retailers are able to price below us. And so if you think about something like product listing ads, because they price below us, they tend to have better visibility, which tends to, you know, obviously their CPCs might come down a little bit, so on and so forth. So some of it works itself out by the system, some of it works out by relationships that we have in place, communications that we have in place, and some of it works out just based upon the pricing and how different components go into the algorithm itself. Obviously, HP bidding on HP brand terms, sending to store.hp.com. We've obviously got, you know, the domain benefit and some things like that. So,
Thanks.
What else?
Anyone else? Any questions?
Only one? Hey, Jeff, I can always count on you.
Hey, Morgan, you had a typo actually in your expanding to secondary markets.
I'll have a typo in your IO, Jeff.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. So Jeff from Ad Media. You mentioned ROAS really is, you're seeing a lift across in ROAS. Are you just purely looking at online e-commerce ROAS, or are you factoring in offline revenue as well?
So it is interesting. We're able to see from some of the, because most people will purchase devices and for their warranty, they'll actually go and register their device on hp.com. And so some of there's some extrapolation that takes place, but if a user logs into hp.com, we kind of know who they are because they've registered, so on and so forth. And so if we can actually see that we served that customer an ad, and then they ultimately went and purchased something offline and registered it back to their overall HP account, we actually have kind of a rough online to offline attribution model. So we do understand on some level the benefit. So there's a ratio effectively for every dollar that we spend online, it generates X dollars in offline revenue. Obviously you get into a challenge with like, well, Best Buy can't count the revenue and I can't count the revenue, but we do know that there's a halo impact. And we've looked at third parties like OwnerIQ, Criteo, and a couple other players that have some offline data, Slice, the Verizon data. So we do get some insight insofar as the customers we're serving ads to, the customers that end up buying offline. So we do feel relatively comfortable with our online to offline ratio.
Okay, anyone else?
Aaron from Home Depot.
So you guys mentioned that you're getting Aaron from Home Depot. So you mentioned that you're getting the actual user email and information from the Google RevShare models that you guys are doing, right, when they purchase through the Google Shopping. With that and with all of your other personalization and your elements that you have with your other retailers and data sources that you're getting, how are you thinking about CCPA and all of the privacy, and is this going to impact any personalized marketing that you guys are running with?
So, be happy to answer that next year. I'll do a CCPA one.
January 1, right?
We're based in Palo Alto, and so like the CCPA component is very, very pervasive. We're having a lot of conversations about it. Everybody should be having a lot of conversations about it. It gets enacted in January. Supposedly enforcement will start in June. We're looking very closely at that. Even like the most basic elements, like the privacy banner that you have on the site, technically the privacy banner should load before any analytics tag even loads. It should be the first thing that loads on your site. And so we're going through a lot of those conversations right now because it is challenging. A lot of people, look, there's a percentage of people that don't care and aren't going to click on those anyway. But I think more and more people are aware of it. And as a brand, we don't want to leave ourselves open to any kind of legal exposure or anything that's going to be net negative. And the other thing is, like, even from the partners that the Googles of the world, there's not been a lot of information forthcoming. Unfortunately, there's not been a lot of guidance forthcoming, and so between what we're doing, we're looking at internally and talking to our agencies and talking to OneTrust and other types of privacy providers on like what the right path forward is. But we're still very much working on it, Aaron. I think over the next couple months, we'll have a fully baked strategy. Certainly before any true enforcement starts. But it's a really delicate balance as a marketer and then as a consumer, like what works for all concerned parties. But unfortunately, I don't have a lot of guidance on that one yet.
Okay, well, thank you. I think we have to move on.